Hi there. Today we're doing contact training. I'm going to be using dailies because this is what I wear. I find them the most comfortable and that my eyes tolerate them the best. I've been wearing lenses for about 12 years and I've definitely picked up some good pointers that I'd like to share with you, as well as beginning to end, how to get them in and out successfully, some different techniques to use, and just a little other pointers that I have for you. So number one is clean hands. Always the first thing. Always make sure your hands are freshly clean. Make sure that after you wash them, after you've used soap, to rinse them really well, better than you normally would. Any residue is going to get on the lens and then get into your eye, and while it might be really slight, you'll definitely notice. So I recommend that you rinse your hands really well after washing them. Another thing is no makeup. If I had eye makeup on, if I had moisturizer on my face, when I go like this to get the lens in, there is a chance that I might transfer it onto the lens, or if I don't get it successfully the first time and I have to readjust the lens on my fingers, that might get on the lens and then in your eye. And once again, you'll definitely notice it. If you're already wearing makeup and you want to wear lenses, not a huge deal. It's not the end of the world. You don't have to wash it all off. Give it a try. Just do your very best to get it right the first time, to not have to fumble around with your lenses, and to get it in cleanly without touching your eyelashes or any other makeup. So once you have your lens open, a lot of lenses have a handling tint, it's called. They're slightly blue, very slight. Nothing that will change the color of your eye, and you'll never notice it except for in its little dish. It's so that you can see it when it's floating in the water. Also, providing your vision is alright, you can just see it. So just make sure it's not stuck to the foil, because sometimes it gets stuck to the foil and I don't notice. I'll scoop in, toss the case, and then realize that I don't have my lens. Silly. So once you have your lens out of the package, you're going to put it on the fleshy part of your finger, just like this. This is the most ideal way to hold your lens to get it in. What we need to determine now is if it's inside out or if it's in its proper position. In its proper position, it's going to be cupped like this. It'll have a pretty flat bottom and it'll be rounded on the edges. It'll be more upright, more of like a flat bowl. When it's inside out, it'll flare at the edges. It'll sit rounded at the bottom and then kind of curve out. Ways that you can test it is by pinching your contact. When it's in its proper position and you pinch it, it's going to taco like this. Its edges are going to curve and they're going to touch each other almost. It'll look really round and kind of happy. When it's inside out and you pinch it, it's going to do this. It's going to bend in and be kind of awkward, and the edges are going to flare out and it's going to look not at all like a taco. So then you want to make sure that it's clean. Give it a good inspection. Sometimes there'll be like a big hair on it or some fuzz, and if you don't catch it right away, you get it in there, it's going to be painful. To handle your lens the best, to get it to stick in your eye properly, your finger needs to be somewhat dry. The lens is going to stick to the wettest surface, and you want that wettest surface to be your eye. If your finger is dripping wet, it's not going to come off of your finger very well. It won't transfer properly. So now I have my lens clean, in its proper position, not inside out, and it's on the tip of my finger, which is perfect. To get it in, the optometrists recommend that you always work with your right eye first and then your left eye. You always put in your right lens and then your left one. When you remove your right and then your left. This is in case you wear different strengths in each eye. Personally, I wear the same, but I still maintain this order because I think it's a really good idea. Also, you don't want to be taking a lens out of this eye and then next time putting it into this eye. You never want to have a cross-contamination. So to get it in, I'm going to pull down slightly on my lower lid. You don't have to pull too hard. You might find it's easier to pull up on your upper lid, whatever you prefer. Mess around with it a bit and find what works for you. I do it usually just with the same hand. And you're going to aim for the exact area that you want your lens to sit on there. I find it's easiest to look up. and just dab it on. So that was pretty easy for me. I've been wearing lenses, like I said, for like 12 years. When you get the lens on there, do your best to not blink for like 1 or 2 seconds. You'll notice when you touch it on, first you're going to see some bubbles. It's not going to be completely adhered to your eye, which is fine. It just takes a second for the air to work out, and you'll notice it'll sort of stick. Sometimes before I blink, I will lift and pull my lid over it, which sort of sticks it on, which is awesome. If you put it on and blink right away, you might blink it out. Not a big deal, just pick it up, clean it, and get it back in there. So I'm going to go ahead and put in my other lens here. So again, for the other eye, I open my package, scoop it out onto my finger, position it. I visually inspect it to be clean and in its proper position, not inside out. Then I'm going to take it off of that finger, dry off that finger just on my arm, and reposition it again. Pull on the lower lid, I look up for myself. Touch it on. Sometimes if I look around, okay, so there it just blinked out. It just happened. Not a big deal. I got it back on my finger. I'm making sure it's pretty clean. It looks good. It's a little murky, but I don't see anything that's going to cause any discomfort, like any fibers, so I'm going to go for it. Now I'm waiting for it to stick on. Pull the lid over. And that one feels pretty good. If you ever put in your lenses and they feel horribly uncomfortable, they feel itchy, or they feel like they're shifting a lot, take it out. Just take it out and try it again. You might find it helpful to use your contact solution. Give your eye a little rinse. Rinse out your lens, make sure it's nice and clean. Wash your hands again, dry off your fingers, and give it another go. You might find that works really well. If your eyes are really dry, you might find that your lens won't shift around all that well and is kind of sticky and has resistance. You'll also find that when you go to pinch it off, it feels kind of brittle and rigid as opposed to being soft and pliable. In this case, that your eyes are dry and your lens is dry, use your solution and give her a spray, let it sit for a few minutes, let the lens absorb some moisture and your eye as well. You'll find it goes a little bit better. So just like putting them in, I'm going to pull my lid down a little. I've got my finger on the lens. I did slide it over, and now I'm going to slide my thumb along my eye. And I just sort of pinched it out. So to illustrate that for you, I held the lens with my finger, slid it to the side a bit. When you slide it to the side, it no longer matches the curve of your eye, which makes it easier to get off. So I slid it to the side, and then I put the back of my thumbnail along the eyeball and pinched it off. This eye, I'm going to drag and just grab it with the fleshy parts of my fingers and pinch it off as well. So I've got it, I move it to the side. And I pulled it out. So to illustrate again for this one, I put my finger on the lens, slid it to the side so it didn't fit my eye as perfectly and didn't have that seal that it usually does. I put the fleshy part of my thumb and the fleshy part of my finger sort of on each edge of the lens and pinched. When I did the pinch, it sort of puckered it up where I was able to pull it out. Hope that made sense for you. So it takes lots of practice, just like anything. And in all my experience, I've never really suffered any eye trauma. I've never scratched myself or had any real issues or problems with it. So so I can see again. For storing your lenses after you've removed them, for people who don't wear dailies, who wear the monthlies, weeklies, whatever, you're going to take your lens out. Always make sure that the right lens goes into the right eye side of your container, and that the left goes in the left, and that you never mix them, because you don't want to have any cross-contamination. The most common method of cleaning your lenses is now the all-in-one solution, something like this. I really like this. I've never used the 3-step process before with the aerosol spray, the protein removing tablets, and there was another step to it. But I never did that, so I'm just going to talk about the one I'm familiar with, the all-in-one saline solution. Basically, it's the easiest thing in the world. You get your contacts in their little dish, you spray them down with the solution and fill up your dish so that it's fresh and full every time. I used to rinse out my lens case in between uses, just so, just to change it up a bit and try and keep it fresh. To clean your lens, you put it in the palm of your hand where it's nice and soft. Clean hands, of course. You're going to put your lens in there and spray it with solution. Then you'll use the fleshy part of your finger and just sort of rub it around in circles, gently. Make sure that while you're doing this, it doesn't fold. If it folds in half and you rub it, you might tear it. So make sure it's in its proper position the whole time. Then you're going to flip it over, spray it again, and scrub the other side. Then you're going to spray it again and put it back in the dish, and when it sits overnight, the solution sterilizes the lens. When to throw out your contacts. If they get repeatedly uncomfortable, if you wear them one day, you're like, oh man, these lenses are scratchy or really dry or they feel funny, and you've cleaned them, you've reapplied, you've tried it again, and maybe you've had a few days of this, or maybe it's just one day but it's quite noticeable, toss them. It's never worth the health of your eye to extend the life of a contact lens. Sometimes you'll rub your eye, or maybe it's just been kind of old or like on its last legs, and you'll actually get a tear in the lens while you're wearing it. Or you're looking at your lens, inspecting it before putting it on. There seems to be like a hair or a fiber that won't come off. That's a tear. Definitely toss it. It's scratchy, it's very uncomfortable. You'll always know if there's something wrong with your lens. It feels like there's something stuck in your eye and you can't get it out. So take out your lens, check it out, you might find that it's torn. Occasionally, I've lost a lens and then found it later on the floor. When you find them on the floor, there are these little like decrepit pieces of blue plastic. They're all shriveled and like tiny and super, super hard. Believe it or not, you can save this lens. If you wear very expensive ones, if you wear toric lenses, or you wear like the True Eyes, some lenses are very expensive. Colored ones, you don't want to throw it out, right? You want to give it a try? Not a problem. Take your contact solution, put it in a dish, and just let the lens soak in that for like a day. You'll find that next time you look at it, it'll be all poofed out, it'll look like a regular lens again. Then you want to take it out of that dish, put it into your proper eye dish, and use fresh solution again, and leave it overnight so it can sterilize. It should be fine to wear after this. I've done it a few times myself, and it worked fine. The lens itself was just like new afterwards. There wasn't any issues with it. There might be the occasion where you do reconstitute a lens and then find afterwards that after all your hard work, that lens has a tear in it. Again, you're going to want to toss that. So this is just my little summary on how to wear lenses, the do's and don'ts, and how to handle them properly, as well as maintaining your eye health. So let me know if you have any questions. I gladly answer them, and thank you so much for watching.